Picture from 1966, one of the few that has withstood all the testing by various organizations. This is a genuine flying saucer.
No ifs, ands, or buts, huh?
You really can't see much there anyway. These are the film frames from the film taken in Great Falls, Montana in 1950 by Nick Mariana. These are actually frames from the Project Blue Book files. And unfortunately you can't see the lights there where the arrows are, the little bright lights. The Air Force determined this was reflections off the fuselage of jets, but in fact it's pretty much unidentified. And the film, of course, is in color and much more dramatic than this. Yeah, you can see the light flare over there. Then the Ella Fortune picture taken in 1957 near Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. It is in fact a lenticular cloud, even though people are interested by what looks like a contrail coming off the back end of the thing. But it is in fact a lenticular cloud. When you see the whole picture, you see the other clouds up here, they're not nearly brightly lighted, so clearly the sun angle is such that it gave that a real bizarre look. But it's a color picture. It's one of the few.
Mm-hmm.
This is a photo taken in I don't know when it was taken, sometime in the 1950s in South America. But what's important here is the puffs on the contrail. And with some of the new experimental aircraft, the external combustion engines they talk about, you get that same kind of contrail. So that's an interesting effect on this object. I've never seen this one debunked, so this is probably a fairly good photograph. I know Don didn't complain when I put it in the slideshow, so it must be okay. See, I'm focused in 1947. Don knows all the rest of the stuff.
Everything else, huh?
I've gotten focused in 47 and forgotten everything I knew about it, except MJ. And what the Air Force did was when they released them publicly, they took out all the names. I had an opportunity to see the Project Blue Book files before they were sanitized. And what we had done was we went through and we wrote down all the unidentifieds, a lot of the photo cases and things like that. So what you see is my handwritten notes putting the names back in. I mean, if it's a hoax or they've definitely identified it, who cares?
When did they sanitize?
They had released them in, I think, 76 to the National Air Force Base. Okay. But when Jack Webb did his Project UFO, he paid to have everything microfilmed and it's sent to the National Archives. And before it went to the National Archives, they did the sanitation. So I had an opportunity to see this stuff. Had I known they were going to do that, we would have copied everything. But so what we did was we copied what we thought was important at the time, so I can put the names back in. But it's important here because if you take a look, there's no mention of Roswell. All these other stupid cases, the Shreveport, Louisiana case, which everybody says proves that Hoover's memo was for Shreveport, it's in there. Roswell's not. That in and of itself is significant. I think so. So we have them not knowing what's going on. Now they're searching for the flying discs. Military planes seek discs in west. Well, actually, they're F-51s, but that's okay. Or maybe they didn't become F-51s until the Air Force became one. But anyhow, what this does is, again, demonstrates nobody knows what's going on. The military is searching for the flying discs in an attempt to determine exactly what is happening. And that's from July 7th, 1947. As I say, this all goes to the point of what was happening in this time frame in July of 1947 as the Roswell crash takes place. It gives you an overview of, I mean, we look at it from today's point of view, we have a different perspective, but if you're going into this new, you get a different perspective of it, and this is what helps illustrate that. What this illustrates is not only is the military confused, the scientific community is confused. They don't know what's going on. What we're doing is showing that they're postulating various explanations. And if you read the entire article, you find out that his theories are refuted by other scientists. No, it can't possibly be atomic research. We don't know what the hell it is. We're demonstrating again, they don't have a clue as to what's going on. And finally, we get to the extraterrestrial explanation, talking about Venus. And we all know it's not Venus, it's not Mars, it's nothing in our solar system. The point is, July of 47, they are talking about extraterrestrial explanations for UFOs. So if you hear the discussions by the skeptical community, well, that was something that was invented at Roswell, nobody was talking about flying saucers being extraterrestrial. And there's actual documented evidence they were talking about it being extraterrestrial, but they assumed it was from inside our solar system. This is General Ramey's explanation. I think he was talking on a El Paso radio station. He said, well, flying saucers are seen all over, but it's we pass up Kansas, which is a dry state. The implication being, if you see flying saucers, you're a drone.
I'll leave you guys your devices.
Well, you might be fun of Jim Ragsdale. This poor man has emphysema, can barely breathe. He's dying of throat cancer, and you're going to make fun of him.
Never, Terrell.
Have I thoroughly guilted you out now?
Not me.
This is Jim Ragsdale, first-hand witness. Saw the thing crash, saw the craft on the ground, saw the bodies.
Accused drunk.
Yes, accused drunk. There are skeptics. There are people in the community now saying this guy's a drunk. No evidence of it, and even if he is a drunk, it doesn't mean he's a liar.
Right.
So that's Jim Ragsdale, accused first-hand witness.
This charge of drunkenness, does that come from any nuclear physicists?
I have heard that had come from a nuclear physicist, and his lapdog, Carl Flock, the former CIA employee who is so proud of his association with the CIA, promotes it, and then the Fund for UFO Research, or the Fund for CIA Research, depending on where you're from, is lamenting the fact that people are saying, well, they're infiltrated by the CIA. Bruce Maccabee's briefing the CIA, Carl Flock's former CIA, and then they wonder, well, where do these rumors come from? Geez, guys, figure it out.
What puzzles me is how could Maccabee think it would be innocent to brief the CIA, you know, not let people...
Speak right into the microphone.
Okay. This is Stanton Friedman, nuclear physicist.
Thank you. This is Hangar 84 in Roswell. Just as for your little information, according to the rumor, Steven Spielberg is making a movie about Roswell.
Right.
And in the article it said that Hangar 84 at Roswell is still under guard.
I didn't read that.
That it's under guard, the bodies are still stored in there. I was in that hangar just a week ago with 48 hours. But I did not spend 48 hours there. But 40 hours was inside the hangar and we looked around. But that's where the stuff was stored in 1947. No truth to the rumors.
That was probably in the Bill Nell newsletter.
No, that was actually in a London newspaper. With a picture, that stupid picture of the wax dummy from Canada.
Yeah, right.
Y'all know about that one. I should get a picture of that for that. Mac Brazel, need I say more? First cousin to the man who gunned down Pat Garrett. Bet you didn't know that. Wayne Brazel killed Pat Garrett. Wayne Brazel was the first cousin of Mac Brazel. Isn't that amazing? Trivia strikes again. That was trivia striking.
That's right.
Anytime you're ready.
It strikes a chord deep within the heritage of our country.
He's counting. I believe that would be Major Jesse Marcel, himself personally, from the Roswell Army Airfield, 509th Bomb Group, living right there in Roswell, New Mexico, at the time this all took place, in 1947. I was brought up on the radio school of announcing where television, you know, you can be quiet because the pictures cover it, but in radio you have to talk all the time.
No dead air.
That's right. Oh, lovely shot of sheep. We call that the sheep shot, as opposed to a cheap shot, because it has sheep in the shot, so it would be a sheep shot.
Is that the shack?
That's the shack that
Mac
they spent.
shack?
That could be a Mac shack.
Yeah.
That's Big Mac shack.
Yeah.
This is what they call the Heinz place. Marcel, Brazel, and Sheridan Cavett spent the night in the shack, waiting for daylight. The shed over here is, in theory, the shed where Mac Brazel had stored a big chunk of the debris, and Marcel went out that night with a Geiger counter to see if there was any radioactivity associated with it, and there was not. Which would suggest, for those of you with a physics bend, that the object had not flown through space. Because as you move through space at relativistic speed, you are bombarded by the hydrogen atoms, and your craft becomes irradiated. And since there was no trace of radiation on it, it would suggest it was not an interstellar craft. A little bit of deductive reasoning for y'all right here in Cincinnati. I almost said Roswell, New Mexico.
No gamma radiation. Huh?
Oh, very good. Ah, an actual debris field shot, sort of.
Minus the debris.
Well, don't worry about that. We'll take care of you in a minute. Ooh, focused. Now it looks good. Hot damn, we focused it. This obviously doesn't have automatic focus on it. The debris field. Simply the debris field, as it appears actually in 1989, but more or less today, the debris field, where Mac Brazel's found debris with friends and relatives, stuff.
And this area has been thoroughly searched, I guess, with metal detection and everything, trying to find...
Didn't we discuss that last night at the book signing?
I wasn't there.
Everybody always says, did you use metal detectors? Oh, geez, I never thought of that. Yeah, the first thing, I've got to get a slide in, I've got a slide, and it's not a good one, of people with metal detectors going over the field. I'll have to get another one when we do it again and get a better slide of it. This is the debris field with debris. We have spared no expense for y'all, because this is from the movie.
Oh, really?
And so what it does is it illustrates, and we need to make it clear that this is not the authentic debris field, but this is from the movie Roswell that will air exclusively on Showtime until they sell the rights to other people. But this is their mock-up of the debris field. That we did that last fall. And there is the gouge on the debris field.
The mock-up.
Yeah. Yeah. If we had the real, if this was real, it would of course be in the book. And you can see, well, you really can't, but there's some debris way the hell out here. I personally carried it way the hell out there, so that it would have spread out. At the director was saying, keep going, because I shot my face off. We're not sure whether he was getting even with me or not, but I'd said that the debris was scattered over an area 3/4 of a mile long, and this was too condensed. So the next thing I know, I'm way up at the top of that hill dropping debris. So
Now the brown...
that's the gouge.
So they figured this baby hit the earth and...
This is based on the eyewitness testimony.
So
It created a gouge according to the eyewitnesses, so the gouge was cut by the movie crew. Jesse Marcel Jr., the real honest-to-God Jesse Marcel Jr., standing on the fake debris field. And this is really a good representation, although the mountains are too close. The Capitans are a lot farther away in New Mexico, but still you can see them rising up above the ground. So this is a very good representation of the area in New Mexico. And you can see there's all kinds of metallic debris. But again, this is from the movie. But what I like to say is we spared no expense to show you what it looked like. We hired an entire Hollywood crew to come out here and create this debris field for you all so you'd know what it looked like. Actually, I thought it was darn nice of us. The actual house that Jesse Marcel actually lived in actually Roswell, New Mexico, in the actual date of July 1947, we took the actual debris. That's actually what I'll say about it too. But this is the Marcel house where they supposedly tried to recreate something in the kitchen.
It looks like a comfy little dwelling.
It's a lot larger than that because there's a back side that you really can't get a feel for, so it looks smaller than it actually is. The tree kind of masks the rear of the house. So it is a lot larger than it looks there. That's on West 7th Street in Roswell, and I've actually personally been there, myself personally.
I took a picture of my wife in front of Judy Garland's birthplace.
Yeah, but who cares? I could actually go to John Wayne's birthplace in Iowa if I wanted to.
Maybe I can entice her into taking a picture of me in front of Jesse Marcel.
You got to go to Roswell first.
Well, we like to vacation.
Well, tell the people Roswell Kevin sent you.
Okay.
We're trying to be...
Shoot at me, will they?
Colonel William Blanchard, commanding officer of the 509th Bomb Group in July of 1947. The man responsible ultimately, for the press release, contrary to conventional wisdom. Our friend, Colonel Blanchard.
Did he create that, or was that given to him to release?
We think that, well, he had a hand in the creation, but it was a community effort, I believe, based on the testimony of the folks what were there. Lieutenant Walter Hott, also identified as Warren Haight in a lot of the newspaper articles. Actually, I tell you, but I'm Warren Haight. This is Walter Hott, who issued the press release back in July of 1947. A fine young man. I know, but there's a lot of them had it as Warren Haight. Ah, the actual press release. That looks pretty sharp to me. The many rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality yesterday when they landed at my house. No. But that's the text of the press release that Walter Hott issued.
Yeah, it's all worded as a done deal, isn't it?
Very carefully worded. The disc was picked up at the rancher's home. It was inspected at the Roswell Army Airfield, and then it was taken on to, flown by Major Marcel to higher headquarters.
Show's over. Go back into your home. Show's over.
Yeah, that's basically it. There's nothing else to learn about this, so you might as well not even bother going out there. That's Major Jesse A. Marcel with the Rowan target balloon in General Ramey's office.
This was a shot that was cropped in the...
Roswell incident and suggested that it was the real debris, but it's not. It's clearly the same stuff that all the other pictures are. And when you look at the entire picture, I mean, you can see the bottom there, you can see the foil, you can see the balsa wood sticks, and yet they were trying to convince us that was the real shot. General Ramey crouched. Colonel Thomas J. Dubose, retired brigadier general, with the same debris that Marcel had. So clearly it's the same stuff. I mean, when you see all the picture, you can see the balsa wood twigs are in the same position. So clearly it's the same photograph. And you get a better shot of them ugly pictures. You can see how ugly they really and truly are. And Ramey's got his tie laying on the radiator and his hat and everything else. He's just looking pretty sloppy there, General. This photo was taken by J. Bond Johnson, by the way. So.
I don't think that's right. Who's that in general?
Couldn't get wall-to-wall carpeting,
I think he had what he wanted.
I guess. Maybe you'd like to see some of the hardwood floor anyway. You know, just sort of,
Well, hardwood floors are cool now.
yeah. He was ahead of his time.
I told you. There it is. Warrant Officer Irving Newton, himself personally saying this is a weather balloon. He's identifying it as a Roswell target balloon. Same stuff in Ramey's office, same ugly curtains. But you notice they picked his hat and tie off the radiator. And he's still alive and told us that it was a Roswell target balloon. He knew immediately when he saw what it was. Moore and Chandry claim he's changed his testimony, but if you compare what he told us with what was written in the Roswell incident, his story has not changed at all. And of all the people in Ramey's office, he's the only one that's left alive that we can talk to. We did talk to Dubose. Well, no, Johnson is alive too. I take it back. Never mind. I'll just shut up because the story doesn't work now. Because Johnson's alive. We got Dubose on tape. And this is the one y'all like here because this is Gene Romero from Circleville, Ohio. And we think this may be where they got the idea to use a Roswell target balloon because her father, although it's identified as his wife, it's actually Campbell's daughter, Sherman Campbell, Jean Campbell there, but she told us that they had the balloon in the barn for years afterwards as well. But that was the Circleville, Ohio thing seems to be where the Army got the idea to use a balloon. That was right here in Ohio, where we are now, in Ohio. Circleville, in Ohio.
West.
What would it have to be, wouldn't it?
No.
Northwest.
We can go east.
Not very far. And then you're in Indiana.
Well,
Then it'd be Circleville, Indiana, wouldn't it?
details.
Oh, the famous FBI telex that Christopher Allen claims that we won't print in its entirety. Of course, it's printed in its entirety in the book, but
Now, why would you go and do something like that and upset him? Just to upset him?
no. Actually, we even know what the blacked out names are.
Yeah.
It's Major Edwin Curtin,
Mm-hmm.
K-A-R-T-O-N is the way it's supposed to be spelled. In the document, it's spelled C-U-R-T-A-N. That's Major Curtin. And what we think is important is that the FBI contacted Wright Field and said that the weather balloon explanation is not borne out in their conversation, but the disc and the balloon is coming to Wright Field. So it's important because it shows the lack of good, solid communications or coordination between various government agencies. And it gives us 6:17 p.m. It gives us time, establishes a time as well. But for some reason, Christopher Allen says we're afraid of this document. We've used it in our lectures
Well, what is it you're supposed to be afraid of here?
because it says that the disc is hexagonal shaped and was suspended from a balloon by cable, which balloon was approximately 20 feet in diameter. Major Curtin further advised that the object found resembles a high-altitude weather balloon with a radar reflector. And then here's the thing that I don't understand. But that telephonic conversation between their office and Wright Field had not borne out this belief.
Sure.
So I don't know what his problem is. It's suggesting the lack of communications among it. So we've used the slide in our lecture forever.
And then, of course, the implication of disc and balloon being transported to Wright Field suggests separate cargo.
Well, I don't know. It's just that this whole thing it just shows that there is some confusion amongst the various governmental agencies. Oh, it's a picture of the Queen probably behind him. What I do at this point in the lecture is, in the first book they made a big deal about Huey Green driving across country and hearing this radio broadcast about the crashed disc, so he's a first-hand witness to it. So I turn everybody in the audience into first-hand witnesses because we have that radio, we have a news broadcast from July 1947 talking about this event. So we turn you all into first-hand witnesses because you can hear that news broadcast. So we turn you all into first-hand witnesses as part of the Roswell event by doing that.
Now, when's the light show start?
In a moment here. And then we start talking about the explanations now coming out. For a few hours it's a flying saucer, a craft from another planet. Now suddenly it's nothing more than a weather balloon.
Where does the Chicago Sun get this Army knocks down disc?
Oh, that was the next day. It's July 9th articles. It's all over the wire surfaces.
Knocks down, not knocks down the air, but knocks down.
Very good. Yes. Oh, yes. I hadn't thought about that, but no, it's a weather balloon. So they're knocking down the theory that it's a flying saucer.
Because I was thinking, with all the
Yeah.
other newspapers about the jets.
Actually, there weren't any jets then doing
I'm
it.
sorry, the P-51 scouting it.
And there's your official raw wind target balloon. I know the aspect ratio is all shot to hell for you, isn't it?
Yes, cut it out. Really?
I think this is the worst one too. I wish I had a couple more. It'd be even worse than this and really annoy you. Maybe one that was long and horizontal. That would be cute.
Some of the guns are truly talented. You know this? Right. Okay, that is the disc.
That's a raw wind target balloon, so that you can get an idea of what it looks like. That would be Mac Brazel again.
Back.
Now you notice he's facing the other direction. I cleverly turned the slide around so it looks like it's two separate pictures. But we begin talking about Mac Brazel's news story now. And it wasn't a flying disc, and it wasn't that mysterious, but it was just pieces of this balloon, and he gathered it all up. Frank Joyce, the reporter from KGFL. Now, skeptics have said Frank Joyce wasn't in Roswell in July of 1947, and we'd recorded the schedule out of the newspaper, or Xerox's schedule out of the newspaper, and at 6 o'clock
on July 7th. This is the Evening News with Frank Joyce. Well, pretty well established as KGFL on July 7th. So that's Frank Joyce, who heard the rest of the story.
Is this guy in pretty good health right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
but his story isn't all that important.
Right.
But yeah, he's still, and he'll talk to anybody. He lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he is in the phone book. Mr. Subtlety right here. Now we get into the area everybody wants to talk about, the bodies. These are the, this is an illustration done by Glenn Dennis based on secondhand testimony. I mean, his illustration is secondhand, but it's based on the testimony of the nurse. He didn't see the bodies. She did. She drew what they looked like, and then he redrew them, having lost his original drawings. So, but that just gives you an idea of what the hands and the arm looked like.
The fingertips, is that like little suckers? Or?
That could be like little suckers, yeah. At least that's what he said. They had like little sucker pads on the ends of their fingers.
Maybe a touch down there.
Oh. This proves this is all baloney. No opposable thumb.
Well,
You can't have a technological society without a...
well, we think that actually this is based on her testimony, and she didn't see the thumb, but we think they had a thumb.
I was making fun of that.
I know that, and I was explaining the situation to you.
Sure.
What we have now is the head,
Uh-huh.
based on her descriptions of what the head and the faces look like. So we get the whole drawing that Glenn Dennis had given to us. So this is still secondhand testimony.
Is the top part the same?
Yeah, it's the same as the slide we just had.
That's what I
It's just now the whole thing. And then it's just a larger view of what the head, the face look like. And again, the thing we have to remember here, this is secondhand testimony. It's based on what she told Glenn Dennis, and Glenn Dennis remembered from what her drawings look like. On the other hand, this is first-hand testimony from a source identified in the book as Steve McKenzie. And because of the interference of other people, we had to remove his name and create a name for him. It's first-hand testimony. You will see him on 60 Minutes. Not 60 Minutes, 48 Hours. So he has gone on the record in that respect talking about this. This is first-hand testimony of what the bodies, the faces look like. And what you'll see is, you'll see some differences with Glenn Dennis, remembering his stuff is filtered through another source, but still, it's an amazingly similar drawing.
It looks more humanoid and almost
Human.
childish.
Human.
Human?
Humanoid refers to having 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. Human, that's humanoid. Human refers to looking much more human.
Oh, really?
We who have had an anthropological instruction are familiar with those terminologies.
I think a good doctor.
And that gives you perspective of the 2 different drawings. And you can see they're not that dissimilar. Considering one is secondhand, one is firsthand, they're not that dissimilar. So Glenn Dennis on the top, firsthand source on the bottom. And I should point out the firsthand drawings have been corroborated by other firsthand sources. It's not just Steve McKenzie, but there are other firsthand sources that have identified them and given us illustrations that match this. One thing that Don had done is he created a big sheet with like 24 different alien faces on it, with this one on it and this one on it and others, and see which one people would pick out. And the majority of them picked out this one down here. So we did sort of a photo laydown, if you will, of what the bodies looked like, to see if we could get some corroboration that way. The last remaining structure of the base hospital as it looked in 1947. And for anybody who's been in the military, you know you've got the old base hospitals would have all these barracks, one-story barracks type buildings linked together, and that would be the base hospital. This is the only structure that's left from what the base hospital looked like in July of 1947.
Not as tacky, but
No, I think it was in a little bit better repair. I mean, this thing they haven't done anything on it in 20 years or 30 years, so.
so that would have been the autopsy area.
No, it's just a bit part of the base hospital. It's the only structure from the original base hospital is still standing today. It may have no significance. Of course, it is backwards. The Travis Walton alien, and it is important because unlike the modern, if you will, abductions with the big black tear-dropped eyes, what we have is an eye that's larger than a human eye, but with pupils. And it's the same thing we had at Roswell. The Betty Hill. Are you happy now?
Yeah, I'm happy.
And again, but it's an elongated eye, but still it's smaller,
Right.
and it's got the pupil,
Right.
and the face is similar to the Roswell alien. It's not completely the same, but there's some similarities there, and we don't know whether that's. There's some real problems with the Betty Hill story, as you know. And but this is the Betty Hill alien. And for all the people in Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, as it looked a number of years ago. Important simply because we know debris got here, we know the bodies got here. Project Blue Book was headquartered here, even though Project Blue Book wasn't the real investigation. As we now know, for all of you who've read the book in the room.
Right,
Huh?
right, yeah.
I'm the only one in the room that's read the book here?
Yeah, I've read it.
The whole thing?
Mhm.
Just a friggin' technician.
I,
Cut me a break.
I think I may remember a few of the things I've read in your book too.
Oh, hot damn.
God.
Bill Brazel, son of Mac Brazel, second cousin to the man who killed Pat Garrett, if I have that worked out properly, as he appeared in the late 70s. Irritated that people are taking his picture, apparently. Bill Brazel and Don, I've stepped in something unpleasant, Schmidt.
Gas bag.
Oh, that chili.
Yeah.
That's Bill Brazel outside the Outpost Cafe in Carrizosa, New Mexico, when we interviewed him in 1989, showing that we've actually talked to the gentleman. The skeptics say, well, you've never been to Roswell, you've never talked to these people, so we have some photos to prove. You saw the photo of Don with General DuBose. Here's Don with Bill Brazel. Apparently I haven't talked to any of these people. Because I'm always taking the pictures, so. And now we get into the explanations, the Air Force, the Army wanting to explain this. This is actually Project Mogul, which was a top secret project, downgraded to secret, but in July of 1947 it was secret until the events in Roswell, and suddenly they burned the project, telling everybody about it in an attempt to explain the flying disc. Well, you're not seeing flying saucers. What you're seeing are Project Mogul balloons. Well, that's not what you're seeing, but they'd like you to believe that. So it's interesting, and of course that's July 10th, I believe, 1947, from the Alamogordo News. A skyhook balloon, which can't possibly explain the crash at Roswell because the first skyhook wasn't launched until September of 1947. A little bit late.
Details.
Well, absolutely, but that's a skyhook balloon. Possibly responsible for the death of your good friend, Thomas Mantell. The man who thought he could fly to the moon without oxygen. Or Venus, I guess I should say. The Japanese balloon bomb, postulated as an excuse for the Roswell materials. And I got that slide in there right too. Doggone, I'm good. That's a real live, honest to goodness drawing of a Japanese balloon
Did you
bomb.
do that?
No, I didn't do that. But it's a real drawing. I didn't do it. Don could have done it, but he didn't. Actually, I think I could do that one, since there's no people in it. Basically, you just need a circle and French curve and some things, I think I could probably do that one pretty well. Now this isn't a real good slide, as you can tell, but what it is a group of officers standing around the remains of a Japanese balloon bomb.
Okay.
And now that it's in focus, you can actually see that. But it's important because it shows that they came down basically intact. They didn't scatter debris over a wide area. They didn't come down and leave a gouge. And so it just gives you a different perspective of what the things look like. And what's important here is the date, February 9th, 1946. John Keel's theory was that what crashed at Roswell was a balloon bomb, and since it was a secret, they invented the flying disc story to cover this secret Japanese balloon bomb crash. And what this demonstrates is not only were they not a secret in 1947, but more than 18 months earlier, the New York Times was printing a story about Japanese balloon bombs. We've got lots of articles like that from that same time frame. This just happened to be the New York Times, February 9th, 1946, Japanese balloon bombs. So it wasn't a secret. A V-2 rocket. Another explanation. What we're doing in this section of the lecture, just so you know, is demonstrating we've looked at alternative explanations in depth, and that we've been able to find no convincing evidence to suggest this is what left the debris in Roswell. That's a V-2 rocket, obviously. V-2 and what they called an A-9, but as near as we can determine, no A-9s, which was a two-stage version of the V-2 in essence, no A-9s were assembled in this country or launched in this country. So it's pretty well out of the picture, but it had a nose cone that would come loose and would glide in, so it could have created the gouge. But there's no evidence that the A-9 was ever launched in this country or even assembled. But we did get components from the Nazis after the end of the Second World War. Dr. Lincoln La Paz, who went out after these events and attempted to determine the speed and trajectory of the object that hit, worked with Louis Rickett. And what's important, what we found out in the new book, for example, is the skeptical community said that Rickett worked with La Paz in 1949 on green fireballs, and he was merely confused. Don, in his interview with Rickett, had him go through the whole story of working La Paz and then said, did you work with, is that the only time you worked with him? And Rickett said, no, I worked with him later on the green fireballs. So Rickett had distinct memories of two events. Right. But we now have, from Dr. Boyd Wetlaufer, an independent source, told us that in the 1950s he was at the Barringer Crater in Winslow, Arizona, working on an anthropological look of the Indians around there, where La Paz was doing work on the meteorics, and La Paz told Wetlaufer about the Roswell events. So we have independent corroboration of Rickett's testimony now, which is important. And that's the last official slide that I use in the lecture. But it's just the International UFO Museum and Research Center in Roswell, New Mexico, 400 North Main. And they've got an awful lot of materials about what happened at Roswell, UFOs and things like that there. And so we use that as the last slide because I haven't got that thing shot into a slide yet, which would be the official last slide. The cover of the book.
Is it okay to continue on?
Yes, I'm just alerting you, this is the official last slide I'll use in the lecture. Now if somebody asks about Gerald Anderson, for example, I'll go into the next group of slides. And I'm sure somebody will. Although when we did it in Roswell, nobody did. I guess they pretty well know the whole story. This is the cover of the IUR. Gerald Anderson, of course, said that Dr. Buskirk was the leader of the archaeological expedition. He produced the identikit drawing on the bottom of what Dr. Buskirk looked like. That's Dr. Winford Buskirk as he appeared in 1958, and a picture of him that appeared in his book. And you can see that the man in the identikit sketch is clearly Dr. Winford Buskirk. Even though there has been some discussion that Anderson has said, well, Winford Buskirk is not the man he described, clearly it is. He took his high school anthropology instructor and made him into the archaeologist that was on the crash site. Of course, Buskirk denies this. That's all covered in the book too. If you read that chapter.
I read that. Read that.
You read the IUR?
Sure.
Tom Carey did a hell of a job, didn't he? We should go slap Tom Carey around, shouldn't we? When, just so you know, when we said to Stan Friedman, we found Dr. Buskirk. He said he wasn't there. Friedman said, you got the wrong guy. When we showed him the identikit sketch and Buskirk's picture, he looked at it and said, then he's lying. Never occurred to him it was Gerald Anderson who was lying. Never occurred to him. The Magdalena Ranger Station near the Plains of San Augustine, since everybody's talked about the Plains of San Augustine and Magdalena, the crash near Magdalena. That was the only sign I could find in Magdalena. So, actually, I have another slide with the front of my car in it. So I guess I could identify. I could
almost be having you in the picture.
Yeah, I could demonstrate my car was there. I wasn't necessarily in it, but my car was there. Anyhow, I've actually been in that building myself personally, and I took that photo myself personally.
Nicely done.
Thank you. I like the composition myself. The Plains of San Augustine behind the trees. This is on Highway 60 between Magdalena and Daddle. And the white area at the base of the mountains, that's basically the Plains of San Augustine behind there, so you get an idea. It's a huge dry lake bed is what it is. The Plains of San Augustine where nothing happened. No evidence.
Pristine plains.
The pristine plains, which were never littered by alien spacecraft. I like that. The pristine plains of San Augustine never littered by alien debris. And then we go, then the last two are just MJ-12 things, if anybody asks. One page of the MJ-12 document, and what is highlighted there is the date that the secret operation began, which is wrong. We can make a good case for July 5th. We can make a fairly good case for July 8th. But July 7th, the recovery operation had not begun.
Where's the date?
It's in the highlighted area here. It also talks about there being 4 bodies. We now know there are 5. That they had the bodies in the craft were found 2 to 2.5 miles from the debris field. It's in fact 30-some miles. So what we have in here is the state of the investigation, if you will, reflected in July or in the mid-1980s, not what we know about it today. So that information was the best data in the mid-1980s, but is not accurate data. So everybody said, we go through it at greater length, just so you all know. It talks about Kenneth Arnold seeing a flying saucer, flying discs. Well, that's not true. When you go back, remember the crescent-shaped object? His first descriptions are heel-shaped. It says nothing about flying saucers, and I think something built or created for the president would know that it says 9 flying disc-shaped objects. They were not disc-shaped. Arnold never used the term disc for them.
That's right.
And so I would think something created at this level would have had the information accurate. And if I can...
unfortunate remark that it was like skipping a saucer
across the pond, and yeah, flying saucer.
Intense.
Exactly, exactly.
So what you have here then is clearly a document that has not come from the government whatsoever.
I don't believe so.
Okay, I see that now, because as you're saying, if it is supposed to be an accurate detailed report, it would know the things that we know
Yes,
now.
and there would be, if it was designed to self-destruct to make all the UFO community look better, this sort of information that's already out there would be reflected accurately, and it is not. Then there's just one final slide. And this is important because this is what Stan Friedman himself says about MJ-12 in his book. He says that those who believe it's real have no proof of it being real. That's what he says. There's no proof that it's authentic. And he says given, it has to be given limited credence, but he believes it may be also both genuine and fake. Well, clearly whoever created the document was using the information that was out in the public arena and in making up what he didn't know. So that to suggest it's both genuine and fake really means nothing. What he's saying there is the document is fake, and that's from his own book. So he kind of shoots himself in the foot with the final paragraph on MJ12. That's the end of the slides.